We're now in Daf Chaf Beis, Amid Beis. Mikan li olim she'en mevatlim zeh zeh. This has nothing to do, say the Chachamim, with the fact that it's min b'mino, and they're both different types of dam, the dam apar and the dam asor. No, it's anything that goes on to mizbeach. There's no bittul. The entire entity and halachic principle of bittul does not work with regard to that which is ol al gabi mizbeach. Rabbi Yehuda Sovar, mikalam in b'mino she'en batel. This halacha not in Karbanos, but it's a general halacha that any two mixtures that are of the same min, there's no bittul. No matter what the ratio is, there's no bittul. So the Gemara says, Rabbanan Savri mikan li olim she'em mevatlan zeh tzeh v'til mishum demin b'minohu. How did the Chachamim prove that there's no bittul of olim al gabi mizbeach, two olim that get mixed up, like the dama para dama soyer? Maybe it's because it's min b'mino. Maybe in general there would be bittul in all olim al gabi mizbeach, but this is the exception to the rule because not only is it olim al gabi mizbeach, but it's also min b'mino. So you have two conditions, and maybe we're going to suspend the operation of bittul when you have both conditions. You can check off both. On the one hand, it's olim, and on the other hand, it's min b'mino. So the Gemara says, "Iashmein min b'mino v'lo ashmein olim kidduka amrit." If the pasuk had spoken about a case of min b'mino and said that it's still called, let's say it's still called by the same name, and so it's min b'mino, and it's not batel, then you would have to derive the conclusion that. But the Torah says it in the case of olim, and therefore what the Torah is telling is hashda de'ashmid and olim mishum olim. The reason why there's no bittul is because both the soyer and the par, the dam of both, is going on to mizbeach. Frek the Gemara, I don't understand. Maybe you need both conditions. How can you tell me that if the Torah would have spoken about a case of min b'mino, then I would have derived the conclusion that min b'mino lo bot. But since the Torah is talking about olim, therefore we should derive the principle of olim, ein mevatlim zed, there's no bittul. How do you know such a thing? And the Gemara says, Kasha, we don't have an answer to this question. There's no way of justifying how the Chachamim concluded, based on par and soyer, that olim ein mevatlim zed. Maybe it has nothing to do with olim ein mevatlim zed because it's min b'mino. Now we're going to have the same attack on Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda sover mikan min b'mino she'en batel v'til mishum de olim hi. Maybe the reason why the damas par and the damas so when they're mixed together are not mevatel is because they're olim al gabi mizbech. How do you know it's a general universal rule that applies to any mixture of min b'mino? Iyashmin in olim min b'sheno mino kiddukamen. If the Torah would have addressed the case of two different olim al gabi mizbech that were min b'sheno mino, and the Torah would say there's no bittul, then you're 100% right. I'd have to derive the conclusion that olim are not mevatlim zed zeh. But hasha de'ashmein and min b'mino. But now the Torah is talking about a case of dam of the par together with the dam of the soyer, which is min b'mino. I'm going to derive the conclusion that the reason why there's no bittul is because it's min b'mino. Frek the Gemara, I don't get it. Min b'mino v'olim. Maybe we need two conditions. What undermines the principle and the application of bittul is because number one, it's olim, and number two, it's min b'mino. But don't tell me that from here you're going to universalize a halach of min b'mino lo batel. Maybe here it's different because it's olim. Kasha. So we end up with a kasha on Rabbi Yehuda and a kasha on the Chachamim. Tanan, we learned to that Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, v'minchas kohen Mashiach v'minchas sochim psula, shezubli losa o zubli losa rakavein bolo zumizu. Frek the Gemara, v'chi bolo zumizu my havi min b'minahu. I don't get it. So what if there's a belia? You're telling me that because this one is dry and a classic Minchas Nedova has a very limited amount of shemen, it's only a log shemen to an isaron of flour, and therefore it's dry. And you're telling me that the Minchas Kohanim and the Minchas Nesachim are made of 3 lugim of shemen, and therefore it's wet, and there's going to be a blia, an absorption one from the other. Who cares? At the end of the day, it's min b'mino. And Rabbi Yehuda holds that min b'mino eino batal. Omar Rava, and this is where we're going to complete our daf and a half for today on daf Chav Gimel. Kasav Rabbi Yehuda kolshu min b'mino v'dover acher salekes mino kamisha eino v'she eino mino rabba olav umevatlo. Rabbi Yehuda holds that if you have min b'mino plus a dover acher, for example, in our case, in addition to the min b'mino, where you have the shemen of the minchas nesachim, which is min b'mino from the shemen of the komets, but you also have the komets itself. The komets itself is made of flour. That's already dover acher. So what are you going to do in such a case? Says Rabbi Yehuda, you're going to make believe that the mino, which is problematic, is kamish edo, it doesn't exist. And you're going to take a look at the edo mino, and you're going to pit the mino and you're going to pit the min b'she edo mino one against the other. You're going to remove, again, this is all abstract, remove the other min and go to the edo mino, so that the edo mino now is empowered with the ability to be mevatel the mino. Why? Because you have both mino and she'eno mino. Okay, then this is where we'll stop for today. And tomorrow I think we meet at noontime, unless you're in some sort of ulpan, I guess.